Hello, everybody. Welcome along to Sportsbet TV. This is me, Paul Alster, looking forward to Royal Ascot 2022. That starts on Tuesday, the 14th of June, the first of 5 tremendous days racing down in Berkshire. The going is going to be slightly on the quick side. Good to firm, good in places, the forecast. And I'm really excited about what promises to be a great meeting and plenty of betting opportunities. I'll be recommending horses at good each way odds, some of them at tasty double figure odds as well. So stay with me for all the bulletins across the 5 days, and hopefully we'll pace ourselves, not overdo it, and try and come up with a nice little tidy profit by the end of the meeting. If you happen to be joining me for the first time, well, please press the subscribe button just below this video. All my videos are free. You can consider my thoughts and decide whether or not you agree or want to go with them and have a bet. That is your prerogative, of course. Well, I want to thank, first of all those of you that sent your thoughts and tips on horses for Royal Ascot from the weekend's video. There were some very interesting horses that were highlighted there, and I did like the way quite a few of you were trying to explain not just that the horse you were tipping, but the reason for it, which is what it's all about. We can all get a pin and pick a horse and say that's the one, but it's nice to hear the reasoning behind it. Well, one thing I can tell you, first of all, that for Tuesday there'll be no bet in the first race of the meeting, the Queen Anne Stakes. Baid is going to be long odds on. He should stroll it, really. It's his to lose. Again, those small fields, only 7 runners. Even when Frankel was 10 to 1 on in the race, he had 10 rivals. It's a sign of the times, really, that there are less horses and less owners prepared to take on, even at the very big meetings sometimes. My first of 4 selections on day 1 at Royal Ascot on Tuesday will be in the 305 race, which is a really tough one. It is the Group 2 Coventry Stakes, which is for 2-year-olds, many of whom might just have some sort of aspiration to classic glory next season. 17 runners declared at the time of this recording, which is late on Monday morning. As I said, it's good to firm ground, good in places, and that's going to be a significant factor. Now, Aidan O'Brien has won it 3 times in the last decade, and of course the Barnaviddaun maestro is always to be feared, and he's got Blackbeard. He doesn't wear a Blackbeard, it's the name of the horse, Blackbeard, who is 3 from 3 so far this season and was particularly impressive last time out. That was in a Group 3 race at the Curragh. Question is, will he be as effective on this quicker ground? He may well be better. We don't know. But it is a question mark that he has to respond to. Now, Aidan also runs Age of Kings, who was an easy winner over 6 furlongs at the Curragh last time out in a conditions race, and is another very nice sort of a horse. But Richard Hannon, who knows a good 2-year-old when he gets hold of one, is very, very bullish indeed, very public about his confidence in his Persian Force, who he's already comparing to the mighty Camford Cliffs. This horse is 2 from 2, and it is very, very interesting to see the confidence that Hannon has in the horse. He was very impressive at Newbury last time out, and he really could be anything. He might be better than the Ballydoyle Raiders. So he is one that is very prominent in the betting. There are also, of course, loads of other unexposed horses who are going to improve significantly from their first runs, many of which were wins, or from their first 2 runs. And amongst those, we've got the American Raider, late September, who won over just 4.5 furlongs at Churchill Downs. So the trip has to be taken on trust for him. Richard Fahey, good trainer, of course, all round, but he can really do well with the juveniles. Has got the dual winner, Rousing Encore, who is a horse with a lot of ability, I think. And we've got the runaway Goodwood winner, Royal Scotsman, who visually created a very good impression when winning for Paul and Oliver Cole. And he, in the Fitri Hay colours, the pink and green, would be another one that I'm sure will be on the premises. But I'm taking a chance here with my first bet of the meeting on a horse called Bradsell, who is trained by Archie Watson and is the mount of the superb Holly Doyle. This is a colt by Tasklead, who was a very fast horse a few seasons ago, and he cost £47,000 as a yearling. This horse was really impressive, winning on his debut at York by no less than 9 lengths. He absolutely destroyed the opposition. Now, of course, Was the opposition rubbish? I hear you saying. Well, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Only two of his rivals have run since that race. The fourth placed horse, Just Janet, trained by David O'Mara, was beaten over 13 lengths, but has since come out and won a Fair Weatherby maiden last week. And then the second horse, Northcliffe, trained by Tim Easterby, who was beaten 9 lengths, was a very respectable close-up fourth in a decent York maiden just last week, a race won by Cold Case, who is very, very highly regarded. So I think looking at the initial form lines, there's every reason to believe that it was possibly at least an average, if not a slightly above average, York maiden for the time of year. Now, Archie Watson's a fine trainer. Holly Doyle, tremendous jockey. I know they believe this horse has got limitless potential. Of course, he's coming into this on the back of only one run, but it's been done before, and he really did visually take the eye with the way he just put them to the sword so quickly when he quickened a furlong and a half out on the Knaves Mile. Now, there's already been a bit of money around for him. At the time of this recording, he is 8-1 with most firms, and that's each way, of course, my recommendation. And there are 6 places up for grabs with Sky Bet, which makes it a really interesting proposition. One little question mark is the draw. He's drawn in stall 2, so he's going to be out on the wing a little bit, but hopefully that shouldn't bother him. And I'm expecting Brad Sell to give a very good account of himself, hopefully finish at least in the first 6 places there. In the Group 2 Coventry Stakes, Royal Ascot Tuesday at 3:05. He's 8-1. Now then to my second selection on Tuesday in the Group 1 Kingston Stakes, one of the outstanding sprint races in the world. It is over 5 furlongs. There are 18 runners declared on the good to firm ground. And all the talk really is of a big international match between the United States and Australia. The American horse trained by Wesley Ward, who does so well at Ascot, is Golden Powell, and the Australian horse is Chris Waller's Nature Strip. Well, I've got to say I'm in the Nature Strip camp. I think the Aussie horse will come out on top and beat Golden Powell. Golden Powell, you'll remember, was a real hot pot for the Nunthorpe Stakes at York last season. He showed blistering early pace, but he ran out of puff in the closing stages and finished 7th. On that occasion. He was 7th to Winter Power, who will reoppose again. Now, of course, the Royal Ascot 5 furlongs is a lot stiffer than the York 5 furlongs, so that's why I think that Golden Powell could be vulnerable. On the other hand, the Australian horse Nature Strip has been bounding home in testing ground over 5 furlongs and more, and he'll certainly stay. Whether he will handle this lightning fast ground, which is expected at Ascot, even though they will water, it's expected to be dry all week, and they're starting on good to firm good ground. That is the question mark for me with Nature Strip. I think he is the one to beat in the race, but I don't think the value is there at around 9-4. Now, let me take a look through the other horses here of interest. Now, of course, the Queen, everybody would love to see the Queen having a winner in the Platinum Jubilee year, and she's got a number of serious fancies during the meeting. The first of them is King's Lynn here in the King's Stand. He won the Temple Stakes at Haydock, the Group 2. He beat Twilight Calls narrowly, and I think Twilight Calls was rather unlucky that day. Arecibo was 3rd, Mondamage 4th, Existent 5th, and the Nunthorpe winner of last season, Winter Power, looked in need of the run when fading into 8th place, but she might well have needed it. I think King's Lynn will do very well to confirm the form, particularly with Twilight Calls. And I think Winter Power for Tim Easterby has the ground. She loves fast ground. She's tremendously speedy. And she sees out the 5 furlongs at a track like Ascot without a problem. So I think she is one very much to consider. And another one that a lot of people will discount, but they shouldn't do that, is the Czech raider Pontos. Pontos, who won under Frankie Dettori in a Group 3 at Longshot recently. And Frankie was mighty impressed and told them straight away to go for the Nunthorpe Stakes. Now, of course, Central European horses aren't really taken seriously, but it's not that long ago that the Hungarian horse proved himself a really fine ambassador for Central European sprinting, and I think he finished 4th in the King's Stand Stakes about a decade ago. But my choice in the race is a horse I tipped you earlier this season when he won, when I recommended him at 12-1. He was returned at sevens, and that is Cardem. Cardem is trained by Charles Hills, who, of course, trained the great Batage, a terrifically fast horse. And Jamie Spencer is booked for Cardem on Tuesday. Now, Cardem won the Palace House Stakes when I tipped him back in April at Newmarket. He showed tremendous pace and picked them off to win in really good style. Now, of course, William Buick was on board that day, but he's claimed to ride for his retainer of Godolphin on Man of Promise, Charlie Appleby. So don't let that put you off that he's not riding Cardem this time. I think this horse, who's been around for a few seasons, is still pretty unexposed at 5 furlongs on fast ground. That was what he had at Newmarket. And it, of course, was what he had when he won the Scarborough Stakes on really quick ground at Doncaster last season over 5 furlongs. I think also a big factor in his favour is that Golden Pal is going to go off like the clappers up front, maybe along with 1 or 2 more. And Jamie, I think, who's always more inclined to ride a more waiting race than some, is likely to take a lead off the likes of Golden Pal and Nature Strip and others. So I can see this race run flat out on the fast ground, being run to suit him. And I think he's got a serious chance each way, especially with 4 places being on offer, with William Hills at the time of this recording at 25-1. Sky Bet go 20-1, 5 places. That's your preferred mode. But 25-1 each way, I think, is a sporting bet for Cardem, who appears to me to have been overlooked because he hasn't run that many times in his career on fast ground over 5 furlongs. And when he has, he's either won or run very, very well indeed. So in summary, I think Nature Strap is the one to beat, but I think Cardem is the 25-1 each way value in the Group 1 Kingston Stakes at Ascot Tuesday at 3:40. And then moving on to the Group 1 St James's Palace Stakes. This is always a really cracking race, these top 3-year-olds on the round mile. Good to firm ground, of course, more or less 13 runners. And it's really all about Coribus, isn't it? This horse who won the 2,000 guineas in brilliant fashion. He is going to be tough to beat. And if you had to have one running for your life, a little bit, as I said, about Desert Crown in the Derby, then you'd probably go with him. Well, I think you'd probably go with Coribus, but I'm not one for betting odds on. There's also, I've noticed, a little bit of unease in the markets because on Sunday, he was trading at 8-13. You can now freely bet 4-5 as of Monday morning, Coribus. That suggests that there are 1 or 2 people thinking he might be vulnerable, but he was so impressive in the 2,000 guineas, and he is the one to beat. Now, the market, second and third favourites are both trained by the excellent William Haggis, who's having a brilliant season and is going great guns in his bid to be champion trainer, taking on Charlie Appleby and others. Well, he's got My Prospero and Majloon for different owners who are both sportingly taking each other on in this Group 1. My Prospero won the listed race last time out, beating the Queen's horse. And Majloon won the German 2,000 guineas, a race that's quite hard to assess, but you always have to respect William Haggis when he pitches horses in to the higher level. And so they certainly can't be discounted. I think a very interesting horse is the Irish runner New Energy for Sheila Lavery. Now, this New Energy ran a great race in the Irish 2,000 guineas to be second to Native Trail, who, of course, chased home Coribus on the Rowley Mile. And with sort of crossing over the form lines here, that puts him more or less within striking distance of Coribus. And so 25-1 offered each way for New Energy looks a fair price, I'd say. He won't be far away. But for me, going back to the 2,000 guineas in early May at Newmarket, the unluckiest horse in the race, if you watch the video of this, was Richard Hannon's Lusail. And I think he might well prove to be the each-way value here in the St James's Palace Stakes. Lusail is trained by Richard Hannon and is the mount of the very experienced and very capable Pat Dobbs. Now, if you watch the video of the 2,000 guineas, of course, you may want to watch it a few times and been focusing on Coribus or Native Trail, Luxembourg, and others. But take a look at Lucille, because he travels well through the race towards the stand side and is 3 times denied a run before eventually getting into the clear once the bird had flown as they hit the rising ground in the final furlong. And he came home strongly. Now, this was particularly encouraging for a horse who was twice a Group 2 winner as a juvenile over 6 furlongs, winning the July Stakes at Newmarket and winning the Gimcrack Stakes at York. So he was high class as a 2-year-old, but he was coming home well there over the mile. And I think there's every reason to believe that he is a horse who will see out this trip, particularly on the round mile, where you can get even half a breather into them, maybe at the turn. Now, Richard Hannon has won this race in the past, the recent past, with Barney Roy, you may remember. So he knows what it takes to win. And I know that he holds Lucille in pretty high regard. So when considering a bet in this race, I asked myself, would I rather bet the 4 to 5 win Caribus, who is the one they all have to beat, or would I bet 33 to 1 each way for 4 places Lucille? And that is offered with Bet365. And my answer to you is that I'd rather be with the 33 to 1 each way Lucille, who you just never know could spring a surprise here. I think he's got a great chance of being in the 4. And if Caribus doesn't run his race for whatever reason, it might be Lucille who is the one to pick up the pieces. So that's my recommendation in the 420 at Ascot, the Group 1 St James's Palace Stakes. Get a little bit of the 33 to 1 on offer. And then very quickly onto my final choice at Royal Ascot on day 1 on Tuesday. And this for me is my pick, really, of the 4. It is in the 5:35, the Wolverhampton Stakes, which is a listed race over 1.25 miles. There are 16 runners, making each way betting very attractive. The good to firm ground has to be taken into consideration here. And it really is wide open. If you glanced at the odds comparison sites very quickly and you see 1.25 mile race at 5:35 betting 6 to 1 the field, you'd assume it's a handicap, but of course it isn't. It's a stakes race, a listed stakes race, and this shows just how open it's going to be. They're making informed Jesse Harrington's Cadillac favourite last time I looked at 6 to 1 on the back of his win in a Leopardstown listed race last time out, which he won very nicely. He won't be far away. The likeable Majestic Dawn for Paul and Oliver Cole went on good to soft ground in a listed race at Goodwood last time out. He's a rock-solid horse in this grade. So Michael Stout runs Regal Reality, who hasn't won for a couple of years since winning a Group 3 at Salisbury, but is very classy and was only beaten a nose on the all-weather during the winter in the Quebec Stakes, which is a pretty hot contest. He comes here off the back of a 6-month absence. Richard Hannon has Aristia, who is a very talented filly, although she might have been slightly flattered when second in the Group 2 Middleton Stakes at York last time out, but she is definitely not out of it. But for me, there's one horse that has been prepared specifically with this race in mind all season. And that horse is last year's winner, Juan Elcano, trained by Kevin Ryan in the north and ridden by Andrea Atzeni. Now, he really is a horse I think he's going to take a bit of beating as long as he gets the luck in running that you require, of course. He won this 12 months ago on good to firm ground. He loves to hear his hooves rattle, and they should be rattling away on Tuesday's ground. Now, 12 months ago, he came from about 6th place at the furlong pole to finish really powerfully and pick up Joseph O'Brien's Patrick Sarsfield before winning a shade cleverly. That was after having been beaten on his seasonal reappearance. Now, this time out, he was also beaten on his seasonal reappearance, but ran a better race than 12 months ago. He was last of 3, but that was behind the high-class Mosterdaf in the Group 3 race at Sandown. And he wasn't at all knocked about, but was staying on again in the closing stages, beaten 4 lengths. I think that form is perfectly good enough, and I think it was a better trial than he ran in his prep race last year. So with Kevin, knowing what Juan Elcano can do when conditions are in his favour at this time of year on this course, on this ground, I think Juan Elcano will take a lot of beating. Now, when I looked at this last night, Sunday night, this is Monday morning I'm talking to you, he was available at 17 to 2, but that has gone. It is 7 to 1 across the board now, Juan Elcano. And I think the 5 places that are being offered are definitely worth an interest with Sky Bet. There are plenty of others offering 4 places. And of course, remember that by the time they start to really bet on this Monday evening into Tuesday morning and early afternoon, you may well be able to get better value. So don't forget to shop around. But for me, 7-1, a fair price at the time I'm talking to you for Juan Elcano in the Wolverhampton Stakes at Ascot on Tuesday at 5:35. So those are my 4 choices on day 1 of Royal Ascot. I'll be including them in each way Yankee or maybe a lucky 15, and also looking at 1 or 2 other combinations. It is going to be a great meeting. Don't go mad on day 1. Have your bets, but remember, we've got 4 other days to get our teeth into as well. I'll be back, of course, same time tomorrow with my thoughts on Wednesday's action on day 2. But wishing you the best of luck, and let's hope we get off to a good start on day 1 at Royal Ascot on Tuesday. Bye-bye for now.